Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a busy show in store for you. What does last night mean for Elise Stefanik? Mamdani, of course, victorious in the mayoral race. But we saw some major victories for Democrats in gubernatorial races. We're going to talk all about it, but that's the question I'm kicking off the program with, asking you, what does last night's results mean for Elise Stefanik's decision? Also, in preparation of the upcoming coverage and coverage you probably saw last night, you will be told that last night's results were bigger than last November's results. That this is a rejection of Trump, of MAGA, of Republicans in general. That it was and this term is used so, well, it's become cliche, blue wave. But also we have to look at something that before Mamdani rose to power, something that we all would have supported and cheered on, but I also ask the question, is it accurate? The end of the Cuomo era. We're going to talk about all those things and much, much more. We're going to get to election results locally here in just a moment, but I want to start with viewer comments. Mark Wright saying, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Well, Mamdani won. So they might better make New York City a jail like the movie Escape from New York with Kurt Russell. Thank you, Mark. Comment coming in late last night from a viewer saying, Frank, in all caps, I doubt I'll make the 6 o'clock hour because I'll be tossing and turning all night. Well, I hope that's not the case. I hope you're tuned in right now. As if it couldn't get any worse with all the disgusting results tonight, I saw this post on social media. And what it is in regards to is the New York State Board of Regents. It's being announced as officially mandating coursework in personal finance, which sounds good. And you got to wait. There's always an and climate science in grades kindergarten through 12th grade. So this viewer writes in, I guess Climate Fact Friday Bob may have to amp up with the all-new science to relate to us. I'm sickened by it all. Thank you very much. Now, does that mean Climate Fact Friday Bob comes out of retirement? We'll pose that question to Bob specifically. All right, some other comments from viewers. With Prop 50 in California passing, I predict more people will flee that state. They successfully redrew the state to get 5 more seats in the House. It was kind of a vanity project for Gavin Newsom. We'll talk about that as well. The Democrats played a better chess game with the help of the media. I don't know if it was a chess game. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you at face value. I just think, and I don't even have to ask you to hear me out on this. My thought is there was such historic wins last November that Republicans, in many instances, the old saying, got fat and happy, that these more local races and again, gubernatorial races and redistricting, that's California, put that to the side. But you're talking about, at least in the case of New York City, a Democrat-controlled city. So they get out and support their Democrat candidates. And I think that happened even down ballot. I even think that happened in some local races that we're going to get to in just a moment. That Democrats are energized because of their dislike of Trump. And Republicans were happy with their victories from just 1 year ago. But yes, the media did help a lot. The media helped create a star in Mamdani. That's undoubted. But I don't know how much of a chess game it was, as it was just a perfect storm, if you will. But I don't disagree with your point overall. Comment continuing. I think this one's from Jack. I think a couple of them were from Jack. I apologize. I print out things out of order, Jack, and I do appreciate all of your comments. Democrats are trained to put their party first at all costs, no matter who gets hurt. Party before the people brought the longest government shutdown in history. It's all about leverage. That's a very, very good point. That was because look at some of these Democrats that won, like the guy we're going to talk about here in just a moment. that made those threats against Republican lawmakers. So yes, it was about party. It wasn't about the best candidate. It was about circling that D. And finally, in this section of reading viewer comments, Cuomo's concession speech was actually great. He sounded more like a Republican. Yes, we'll get to his concession speech. Many calling this the end of the Cuomo era. Well, your thoughts on that? All right, on some, and by the way, I know I do this every year. This will be our third time doing it. We're not going to go through every single town result. It would take up the whole show. If you have a specific area you're looking for, we're going to go through some of the bigger ones, don't get me wrong, or maybe the more surprising ones. But if you have an area that you want to know about specifically, or a candidate you want to know about specifically, please text it to that number on the bottom of the screen. I don't care how hyper local it is. We'd be very happy to read them to you. When it comes to, we'll start with Steuben County, then we'll go to Chemung County. The only reason that is the case is because Chemung County, I have to read out the Board of Elections website. It's not printable as Steuben County's is, at least that I could find. So we won't go through all of the uncontested races when it comes to Steuben County legislator, because there was quite a few uncontested races once the primaries were over. But in what was an interesting turn of events, I guess you could say, for Steuben County legislator in District 12, the Democrat Deborah Shannon defeated James Kuhl, the Republican, by, well, nearly 100 votes. 607 for Debbie Shannon, James Kuhl 509. So that was one of the more surprising takeaways. That's not to say anything about Debbie Shannon. Just that Kuhl was the incumbent, and we know the power of the incumbency. So that is interesting. Debbie Shannon defeating James Kuhl. Also in the race for District 13, Justin Eberlin defeated, and he is the Republican, defeated Timothy Tuttle, 917 to 832. And I always have to preface all of this. This is still unofficial. Official takes quite a while, but it looks pretty, it's pretty much set in stone. So Justin Eberlin, 917 to Timothy Tuttle, 832. Now, of course, in Corning City Mayor's race, that was uncontested. So Pam Walker is now the mayor-elect. When it came to city council members here in, again, I'm not going to read all the uncontested races, but in Ward 7, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing the name, Rhody Rovner, the Democrat candidate, defeated Mark Razoo. And this is where it's very important to remind you how important voting is at the local level, the turnout, how much your vote counts. Rhody Rovner, 120 votes. Mark Razoo, 103. That's a very close race. Congratulations to our friend Hornell Mayor John Buckley, who was running unopposed, but he is again voted in as the mayor of Hornell. Otherwise, okay, let's see here. In Ward 3 in Hornell, Joseph McKay defeated Deidre Cardoman. I'm sorry if I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Joseph McKay receiving 69 votes to Deidre Cardomon's 38. And I think, that's right. In Ward 6 in Hornell, Lita Brown defeating John Bradley 74 to 43. In Ward 7, it was Kevin Valentine with 64 votes over Okina Gadsden at 33 votes. And I think the rest gets into some, like I said, more local, but please reach out if you want to know about, like, for instance, there's Addison, places like that. We just can't go through all 25 pages of this. But if you have any questions about specific races, we would love to hear from you, and I would be happy to read that. Also from Chemung County, when it came to the city court judge, Elmira City Court Judge, who we had all three candidates on the program, Democrat Daniel Kane defeated Jordan York and Robert Siglin. Daniel Kane receiving 56.75% of the vote. Jordan York at 38.77%, and Robert Singlin at 4.48% of the vote. Again, if there's anything you want, members, let's see, where's this? Yeah, we can go through any other areas that you want. It's just kind of difficult to read them all because it will take quite some time. So if you have any questions about your specific area, please reach out. Now, Justin Eberlin, who did win in Steuben County in the legislature's race in District 13, sent out a statement saying, "I'm truly honored and humbled to be the winner of the election. This victory is a testament to the incredible support and trust I've received from so many people in our community. I want to sincerely thank my family for the unwavering encouragement and support throughout this journey. To my friends and supporters, your dedication and belief in my vision have meant everything to me. I'm especially grateful to those who volunteered, knocked on doors, made calls, and shared my message. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would have the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I'm committed to working hard every day to represent District 13 with integrity, transparency, and dedication. I look forward to collaborating with my colleagues and serving our community to make it even better for all residents. Thank you again for your trust and support. Together, we will move forward and achieve great things for Steuben County." Now, in the mayor's race, it goes without saying, so many people send in waves. We'll get to your comments here in just a moment. Goes without saying, I'm sure, if you watched any news last night or this morning, Zohran Mamdani, I gotta get better at pronouncing his name now that he's the mayor. He is the mayor-elect in New York City, defeating both Curtis Sliwa and Andrew Cuomo. The New York City Board of Elections announced that 2 million people had casted their ballot. The last time that happened in a mayoral race was back in 1969. Wow. About 1.15 million voters cast ballots in the 2021 mayoral race. The highest turnout this century was in 2021, when 1.5 million New Yorkers cast ballots. So this year, 2 million. Wow. 1969 did receive 2.5 million votes, but still. And if you're curious about the population of New York City, 8.5 million people last year. So Zohran wins the mayoral election and wastes no time in declaring war on Trump in his victory speech. Again, I have a couple opinion pieces that we may get to later on, but saying that some of these victories, kind of be careful what you wish for. From those states, from the city. We'll see what the future holds for those areas. Again, if you have any questions about your local races, you want to know what the results were, anything specific, please let me know. And we'll be keeping you updated all morning long. It's just difficult to go through the whole list. We got to take our first break. I feel like we're just getting started. Oh, in the 7 o'clock hour, we are going to change it up a little bit and talk with the Corning Area Community Concert Band conductor, Tina Sosha. They have a performance coming up on November 9th. It's a pretty cool celebration of, get this, their 50th year as a community band. So we'll hear all about that concert, so you can prepare to go on Sunday at 3 at the Corning Museum of Glass Auditorium. All right, stay with us. We will be reading a little bit of the local races, some of the bigger ones throughout the morning, just as an update. So keep that in mind, but we got a lot to cover. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. One of the questions I'm asking this morning, how does this shape up Elise Stefanik's decision? So that is my question to you this morning. Let's go to viewer comments. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I am tuned in, after all, because I tossed and turned all night. I'm sorry that you lost sleep. I asked the question because that viewer thought that they may not catch the beginning of the program because they've been up all night worried and fretting about the races. But yes, they fretted through the whole night. So I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that you're joining us. How's that? Steve writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Steve. My exact thoughts. Republican politicians are very complacent. How little of an amount the party placed any energy on very winnable elections proves that Republicans choose limited power over being able to help to stop the transformation that is becoming more and more apparent. Don't worry. Now that the election is over, Democrats will vote to reopen the government. It is going to be awesome watching New York City, New Jersey, and Virginia's vacancies climb to unheard of levels. New York City is going to crumble. The people are about to get exactly what they voted for, just not the way they were told it would be. When the complete opposite occurs, don't be in shock, just be aware. The Kool-Aid is a memory of what will never actually work. Rich people will always have a choice. The poor and middle class will always be stuck. Enjoy. Thank you very much, Steve. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. You're looking pretty dapper in that suit. It might be a good day to ask your boss for a raise. Thank you very much. I appreciate the nice comments. No, just have a meeting, and I had the suit, so don't read too much into it, though. Another viewer writes, what's with the suit and tie? But also said good morning. Good morning. Don't read anything more into it. I just have a meeting afterwards, but I do appreciate it. I wondered if you would comment on it. I wear a tie every morning, just not the suit. Okay, Mark writes in, the problem is with Mamdani winning, as those people probably vote for the Wicked Witch of the West, Hochul, and that doesn't look good for Elise Stefanik. Well, you figured they were going to vote either way for Hochul. Well, we shouldn't say that, Mark, because there could be a primary. And so let's say there's a primary for Hochul, a far-left primary. After seeing Mamdani's win, someone from the far left, the Socialist Party, says, you know what? Hochul's ripe for the taking. So gets on the ballot. Let's say they win. That changes up everything. But if they lose, does that kind of put that complacency, to use that other viewer's term, in with Democrats thinking, the far left Democrats saying, well, we couldn't win that one, and sitting out the general. There's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to the gubernatorial race after last night. I'm not denying that. So it'll be interesting to see what Elise Stefanik ultimately decides. One other thing I wanted to mention, and we're going to talk about some other election results. Frank, what is with the suit? You getting sworn into office today? No, everybody is wondering about the suit. No, don't read too much into it. I just have a meeting, my goodness. Thank you. No, I'm not getting sworn in. I did not run, and I don't think anybody wrote me in anywhere. All right, I did want to mention, because some people were asking, a statewide ballot measure that allows New York's Olympic Regional Development Authority to continue building on 350 acres of land near the Mount Van Hoevenberg complex near Lake Placid, which is currently protecting forest on the Adirondack Forest Preserve, is passing, albeit barely, and remains undetermined. There's still around 467,000, or excuse me, there's still precincts that need to be counted on this. Specifically, the Board of Elections at midnight said the yes votes were 45%, the no votes garnered 42%, and that's with 87% of the precincts reporting. Around 467,000 voters left the proposal blank. Well, I think, number one, there's some confusion. Number two, people may not know what it was or that it was on the back. Now, I know where I voted, they did a good job of saying, make sure to check the back, but I'm sure that's not always the case. So Zoran wins, wastes no time declaring victory and declaring war on Trump. So we don't have to go through his whole party, the victory party. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. Okay. The Uganda-born Mamdani will be the Big Apple's first Muslim, first South Asian, and first socialist mayor, as well as one of the youngest. In his 20-minute address, he said, my friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in his private life, but that will be the final time I utter his name. Will it be? I think it is. I think that, listen, going back to that viewer who said complacency on the Republican side, I totally agree. But there was that complacency with Cuomo. Think of how things could have been so different. Now, maybe this is some uprising of socialist Democrats, and that Mamdani was born to win, even if Cuomo ran a good primary race. But we'll never know, because Cuomo went with the basement strategy, the Biden strategy, and ended up really not working for it, thinking he was owed it, in typical Cuomo fashion. So a lot of the blame of Mamdani's rising star is squarely at the feet of Andrew Cuomo. I'm not going to fall into the trap of reading all of his comments and reading essentially his speech, but Cuomo spent $12 million on his campaign, by the way, and $55 million from supportive super PACs. He said in his concession speech, this campaign was the right fight to wage. It's also important to note that almost half of New Yorkers did vote to support a government agenda that makes promises that we know cannot be met. This dashed Cuomo's hopes, of course, of a political comeback. Many of his supporters that remained for his concession speech started chanting shame on Sliwa. Sliwa conceded the race at about 9:20 p.m. Now, keep in mind, the polls closed at 9. So 20 minutes later, conceding, with tears in his eyes as results showed him not cracking 10% support. He said, "Let me warn the new leader. If you try to implement socialism, if you try to render our police weak and impotent, if you forsake the people's public safety, we're not only organizing, but we are mobilizing." So there we are. Quick look at Mamdani's win. By the way, did you see that Chuck Schumer still didn't endorse Mamdani as of yesterday and would not admit who he voted on in the race? That's going to play out very interestingly, because there does seem, and we're not telling tales out of school with yesterday's election results, that this socialist wing of Democrats is getting very active. And they have been calling for the ouster in the leadership position of Chuck Schumer, saying he's out of touch, doesn't understand essentially the new Democrat Party, and they may be right. So for him not to endorse Mamdani, this is going to get very, very interesting. He said, "Look, I voted, and I look forward to working with the next mayor to help New York City," he told reporters, not saying who he voted for. And as they said at the New York Times, even on Election Day, Chuck Schumer is mum on Mamdani. The top Senate Democrat never endorsed Mamdani, his party's young left-wing nominee for mayor, and declined to even say who he had voted for. There's going to be a lot of people that say, because Hakeem Jeffries did, it was kind of half-hearted, but he, of course, did ultimately endorse Mamdani. So it's going to be very interesting what this means for the future of Chuck Schumer. Also, again, I ask, do you think it's the end of the Cuomo era? What do you think how does this fit into Elise Stefanik's reasoning? These are the questions I ask you this morning. Also, one more election result before we keep moving on here this morning. Trump-backed Bruce Blakeman declared victory in that Nassau County executive race. That was a tough fight. Bruce Blakeman's name was thrown around for running for governor against Hochul. That would not be the case. It is speculated if Stefanik gets in the race, but that's whether or not Stefanik gets in. She said she would make her decision after looking at the results on Election Day. Well, here we are. What is her decision going to be? If you had to decide, you see what happened. Not if you had to decide whether she runs or not. If you were Stefanik, I should word that differently. You see what happened last night? No, I don't believe it's the blue wave. I don't believe it's the biggest historic election of all time, as the media is going to betray it. You know that's how they're going to do it. But there are some, I guess you could say, red flags. The rise of this energetic Democrat base, far-left Democrat base, the complacency, the kind of apathy from Republicans who were happy in November and didn't get out the vote. I mean, let's face it, we even see that at the local level. Look at some of these really pathetic turnouts. So it's worth noting, and so that's why I ask your opinion on it. Again, Bruce Blakeman, though, declaring victory in that race. Blakeman had 50.6% of support to Koslow's 43.1%, with 76% of the vote counted. So I just mentioned his name more so because his name was thrown around for governor. Again, if you have any questions about, and maybe, everybody keeps commenting on my suit. Maybe it could be I'm dressed for the funeral of New York City. How's that? That can be my excuse? Because it's going to be bad pretty quick for New York City. Did you see yesterday Governor Abbott from Texas said for residents moving from New York to Texas, he's going to put a tariff on them? I don't remember. There we go. Abbott vows to impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving from New York City to Texas after Election Day. Abbott posted on X, after the polls close tomorrow night, I will impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York City. There you are. On that note, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. Again, if you want to know about your local races, I don't care how hyper-local, let me know, and I will be happy to broadcast them. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments this morning. Mamdani is going to run a candidate against Hochul. I would agree with that. It's going to be a hand-picked candidate. That's why, and this viewer also adds to this, or probably Lieutenant Governor, he won't endorse him for a reason. She didn't, meaning that, if I'm reading that right, that Mamdani didn't endorse Hochul for a reason. That is very true. But remember, Hochul made the excuse, he's just waiting on my time frame. We'll see how that goes. I bet you her time frame is, hey, can you do it now? And it will still not happen. I think there is going to be a far-left challenger, but it's got to be someone that jumps in pretty early. But on the back of this momentum, at least in their mind, of course. Cuomo had no reason to run a basement campaign because of his nefarious, we'll say, baloney. As governor, Jeffries endorsed Mamdani and then said he was not the future of the Democrat Party. Made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries handled that very poorly. I would agree. Comment from a different viewer. Mamdani won because he is unknown. Cuomo had so much baggage, he could barely walk. Schumer is Jewish, so endorsing Mamdani, a Muslim who also preached or at least spoke very anti-Semitic language, would not disavow globalize the intifada, was a bridge too far even for Schumer. Comment from a different viewer. Did the $4 million+ for libraries pass? It was listed on the back of the ballot in Chemung. It did. That was for $4,144,323 for the Chemung County Library District. 64% of you Chemung viewers, almost 64.86, voted yes. The no vote was 35.14%. So, again, the proposal 2, the county proposition 1 regarding the Chemung County Library District and their $4 million plus budget did pass. Thank you for that. Again, if you are curious about specific local races or local issues, let me know. We've got our lists here to read them to you at the top of the hour. We'll go through a couple of the bigger ones, quote unquote bigger ones, again, just as a reminder, because we made the announcement in the 6 o'clock hour as well. So Gavin Newsom's Prop 50 vanity project overwhelmingly passed, with Democrats looking to flip 5 congressional seats in the 2026 midterm elections. The Associated Press called the results promptly at 8 p.m. local time, right when polls closed, with more than 64% or 4.4 million voters saying yes to the measure, compared to 35 who voted against it. Newsom waited no time, just like Mamdani, to attack Trump, saying, "We're proud of the work that the people of the state of California did tonight to send a powerful message to a historic president. Donald Trump is a historic president. He is the most historically unpopular president in modern history." Okay. All right. Also, how am I doing on time? Okay. Mickey Sherrill crushed Republican Jack Ciattarelli in a stunning victory yesterday for New Jersey's gubernatorial race. Despite Ciattarelli mounting an aggressive, well-funded campaign and polls showing the race neck and neck, he fell dramatically short come Election Day, making a reversal from 4 years ago when most polling significantly underestimated him. Sherrill led by 12 points, with 90% of the ballots counted, after the highest turnout in a Garden State gubernatorial election in over a decade. Again, that high turnout rate, that's got to weigh in Stefanik's mind, in New York City now, New Jersey. Her electoral triumph marks the first time in the modern era that her party will control for more than 2 consecutive terms, control the governor's seat for more than 2 consecutive terms. But even in her victory speech, she spent more time talking about Trump. And that is really the campaign strategy of all of these candidates in the Democrat Party that won. It was talking about Trump, no matter how local, no matter how, if it was statewide, if it was really local, Trump was the main focus. We're not going to give in to our darker impulses here in New Jersey. We know that this nation has not ever been, nor will it ever be, ruled by kings, she declared. Democrat Jay Jones, even with that controversy surrounding his text messages, unseated Virginia GOP Attorney General Jason Miyares, despite the scandal. With 93% of the expected votes in, Jones led Mieres by 5.4 percentage points, a gap of fewer than 170,000 votes out of more than 3 million ballots that were cast. So again, the media is presenting this as bigger than last November's wins for Republicans. That is predictable. I'm not saying it's any less frustrating. Very, very predictable that this is going to be a blue wave, that this shows the midterms are everything's over in the midterms but the shouting. Democrats are just going to take over. And listen, there's a point to say how much energy the far left has had. But to suggest that this is somehow bigger than Republicans winning the House, the Senate, and Congress it goes to show you what they want, how they feel, but not the truth. Now, Abigail Spanberger, because everything in elections now has to be historic. I don't know when this trend began, but it has to be historic. So Abigail Spanberger will be Virginia's first female governor. The former CIA officer was first elected to Congress in 2018. We don't even know all that. All right, Mickey Sherrill will be New Jersey's first Democratic female governor. So then they start to get a little bit more into the weeds of how you have to specifically make it historic. Because the state's first female governor, Christine Todd Whitman, was a Republican back in 1993. Okay. Ghazaleh Hashmi, a state senator who immigrated to the U.S. from India as a child, made history Tuesday as the first Muslim American woman to be elected statewide in the United States when she won Virginia's lieutenant governor's race. Zohran Mamdani, he will be New York City's first Muslim and South Asian mayor, and because this is from CNN, they don't mention also socialist mayor. Mary Sheffield, Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield, will become the city's first female mayor. Okay, so historic. We're going to talk more about the takeaways from last night. If you have any questions on your local races, please let me know. We want to be a service to you because you know how much we focus on the local because of how important it is, and we're proud of the work that we've done here in the lead up to the local races. I think we had a lot of great interviews. We try to do that every year. So if you have any questions, we will go through some of the quote-unquote bigger ones at the top of the hour. But if you have anybody specifically that you want to know about the numbers, please text in. Don't be bashful. And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We're back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments this morning. I had no idea that a mayor had so much power over a president and that an entire country. He sounds very confident in himself. He'll be very busy stocking shelves at the free grocery store. Yes, he was obviously defiant of Trump in his speech, but that's what the Democrat Party wants. And it's not about delivering the results on that kind of bluster, but it's about the tough talk. We saw it when Cory Booker was praised for that, 25-hour speech. Nothing was accomplished at the end of that speech because it wasn't a filibuster. Nothing was accomplished, but he was praised for even writing a book about it. You have had other members of the Democrat Party giving these very long speeches, not even getting the coverage they normally would, but that's what, if you recall, there was an article, and it was from a more left-wing outlet, and it wasn't that long ago. And the article was saying that Democrats were concerned because their constituents wanted more action. They wanted more resistance, even to the point, if you recall, where they wanted them to go into ICE facilities, and if they got bloodied up, it was okay because it would show that they cared. It would show that they were fighting the Trump quote-unquote regime. You remember that? So even though you see that talk and you know he can't accomplish everything that he said he's going to accomplish, I don't think his supporters care. I think it's about giving that fiery speech about how much you hate Trump. That's the kind of the way of the world right now. Comment from a different viewer. Mamdani had a lot of Jewish support in New York City, more than you'd expect. Yes, it'll be interesting to see what the final numbers say on that when it comes to exit polling. But that was a pretty big takeaway that they were reporting on yesterday. Comment from a different viewer. The only hope for New York State now is Stefanik. I appreciate that, and I would agree. It'll be curious how last night's elections shape her decision. Comment from a different viewer. Republicans in general keep their campaign promises. I hope people are going to be paying attention to what the Democrats promised when they don't deliver and are seen as they are, namely talking heads spewing empty promises just to get votes. Thank you very much. And finally, there's other comments coming in. I just didn't catch them before the break. So final comment in this segment. I hope you aren't dressed for a job interview unless it's for Fox. No, I am not dressed for a job interview, but I do appreciate it. I think everybody likes the suit. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if everybody likes the suit. They're just commenting on the suit. But I do appreciate that. No, it's not a job interview. But I do appreciate that. I just have a meeting. Last time I make the mistake of wearing a suit. But I do appreciate all the words. All right, takeaways from Tuesday's election. According to CNN, Democrats win across the spectrum as voters reject Trump. So all of that was a rejection on Trump. Voters up and down the East Coast delivered Democrats a sweep on Tuesday, electing candidates across the party's ideological spectrum in a vivid show of discontent with President Trump nearly a year into his second term. So it's not Stephen Collinson, surprise. Eric Bradner from CNN. So in his view, it is easy to declare last night's victories for the Democrats as a resounding anger at Trump. Now, do you remember, and some still won't say it, that they would refuse to declare a landslide victory for Trump in November's elections last year, where he won the House, the Senate, and the White House? Remember how they fought tooth and nail against that phrase? But now it is, meaning landslide, but now it is clear. The last night was a referendum on Trump. Now, I think you could look at Mamdani as that being a referendum. Well, two things. I think in the city you have the far left socialist Democrat Party rising up. I think there's that. I also think it was very much a vote against Andrew Cuomo and ending the Cuomo quote-unquote legacy. I think there was a lot of that. If it was a different Democrat candidate, could they have won? One that actually put forth a fight during the primary, unlike Cuomo. That was a perfect storm of Cuomo being inept. I know everybody can say he's politically brilliant, these type of things. He proved that he's not. By not fighting hard in the primary, he cost, well, not the Democrats because he was no longer a Democrat when he lost there, but he cost New York City in the long run, and now they have a socialist mayor. So I think very much for those who want it, and they can, for those who want to praise Mamdani for his win, I think a lot of the thanks needs to go to Cuomo for his disastrous run, and thanks to a media that wants to make Mamdani a rising star like they have AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and others. Now, your thoughts on this, because this concerns me. I told you the last couple of weeks about Marjorie Taylor Greene playing this game, and this is going to tie in with yesterday's votes. Just bear with me in my analogy. How she likes to be essentially used by the media because she wants friends, these friends who hated her. She even went on The View yesterday with some of the despicable things that's been said about her. And this always bothers me when Republicans do this and they're used by the media. She went on The View and called for women of maturity to unite. And this is how, the term useful idiot, I'm not trying to be just completely rude to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but the term useful idiot, when you do get a compliment on The View, and apparently that's your hope, that's your goal, and the compliment is even backhanded. Sonny Hoyston said, I'm sitting here just stumped, because you are a very different person than I thought. You've gone so right, it's like you're on the left now. That's just a backhanded compliment. She called herself an unapologetically America First and then trashed Trump's endorsement of Cuomo, saying she backs Curtis Sliwa. I wouldn't vote for Andrew Cuomo. All these women came out with accusations against him, which I found pretty disgusting. And then the COVID lockdowns. I get all that. Then she talked about Epstein. I just don't understand it. But you know what the theory is? AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, claimed yesterday that, and again, this is in reference to Marjorie Taylor Greene and turning on, in many instances, Trump and the Republican Party, going on The View, wanting to be liked on The View. She said that President Donald Trump blocking Marjorie Taylor Greene from running for Georgia's Senate seat next year is why Greene's doing her revenge tour against the GOP. Now, I don't normally agree with AOC, and I don't know if I agree with AOC here, but it's an interesting theory, and I bring it up to get your thoughts on it. And it ties in just a minute. Please, trust me. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She wanted to run for Senate earlier this year in the state of Georgia. She wanted to be the Republican nominee for Senate. So she was gearing up for that statewide race, and Trump told her no. Trump said no, and the White House and Trump land shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate, and she has been on a revenge tour ever since. Just an interesting kind of theory, but I tie that in because will you see, historically Republicans have had a wishy-washy attitude in times of quote-unquote trouble. So in the past, with the government shutdown, they would cave when the media turned on them like they'll always do. In a scenario like this, and this is not to pick on this lady specifically, I'm just hoping this doesn't paint a larger picture. Where you have last night's victories for Democrats, will that cause Republicans to say, oh, we have to be quote-unquote more moderate? That's the fear. And during CNN's election night coverage last night, Representative Nicole Malliotakis, a Republican from here in New York, stated, quote, I think we need to move a little more in the middle. And I think that this is something we need to learn from tonight, where you're seeing them go way too far, going after people who have no criminal history. This is in regards to immigration, that have been here for decades, that are contributing to society. They're paying taxes. They have American citizen children. I think that's going to hurt and backfire. The president did secure the border, and he's deporting the criminals. But the issue, I believe, with the Latino vote and somebody who's half Hispanic and also a member of the Republican Hispanic Caucus, we've been sounding the alarm that we need to make sure that we're focused on the criminals, not people who have been here a long time, have American citizens as children. So again, I don't want to read her whole comments. But they asked, do you think it's a repudiation across the board? Last night's results, she said, well, I think, first of all, again, some of the issues have been taken off the table because the president did secure the border. You're seeing inflation come down. Interest rates have been coming down. But with that said, I do agree that Republicans need to take note of what's happened tonight, because I always have said that the pendulum went so far to the left under Biden. People did not like the open borders. They did not like 9% inflation. And now the pendulum has swung to the right. They don't want to see it move so far to the right. I think we need to move a little more to the middle. I think that is something we need to learn from tonight. So your thoughts on that? All right. Quite a few other things to get to. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Wow, am I running that late? If you have any questions about your local races, let me know. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Wow, it's already time to wrap up. This segment, we're going to read all your comments here. I think all of them. And then we're going to take another short break and wrap up hour number one. Let's go to viewer comments. Mark writes in, congratulations to Justin Eberlin. He is my neighbor. We live between the county lines, so I could not vote for him. He lives in Steuben, and I live in Chemungst. Yes, congratulations, Justin. That was in the Steuben County legislators race. He had a challenger that was in District 13, Justin Eberlin defeating Timothy Tuttle, 917 to 832, and we read his statement a little bit earlier on. Comment from a different viewer. Help me understand how everyone in VA, Virginia, with school-aged children could think that Spanberger's views on excluding them, the parents, is a good idea. Great question. That's a fantastic question. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Okay. The suit looks great. I was thinking more like Secret Service. Well, thank you. Secret Service, I'll take that. It would, I don't think I would be very good at Secret Service, but I appreciate that. Coming from a different viewer, I think it's too bad that Pam Walker didn't have a challenger. Pam Walker ran for mayor here in the city of Corning as a Democrat. We had her on the program a couple times. She did not have any opposition. And I know some people in Republican circles were upset that there wasn't anybody that took the challenge, but it is very difficult. If you look at the numbers, Corning is becoming somewhat overwhelmingly Democrat, so it would have been a tough race. That's not to say it's too bad someone didn't do it. I would agree with you, just because it's always nice to have options. But we were glad that Pam Walker could be on the program. all those times. I do appreciate it, and congratulations to her on her win. Comment from a different viewer. That's because CNN is Communist News Network Propaganda Central. All mainstream media is a propaganda wing for the DNC. I think a lot of this was complacency on the GOP's part for not running a viable candidate. Yes, I do think. Let me dissect that for just a second. Yes, about the media, it is propaganda wing. It's why the mainstream media has lost so much credibility and continues to lose credibility. Now, about your issue with complacency at the GOP's part for not running a viable candidate, I would agree. I like Curtis Sliwa. I think he would have made a great mayor. I think he has become the always runs guy. He runs every time and he loses every time. There's a great piece of the New York Post saying, Republicans, we can win this. Right here, GOP must get real in New York City with winnable 5-bureau strategy and ditch the beret. It's not to attack, well, maybe they are. I'm not trying to attack Curtis Sliwa. I'm just saying we might have had a better chance with a more viable candidate. And I'm sorry if you are a big Sliwa fan. I do apologize, but I think it needs to be said. Love the suit, Frank. Well, thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Wow, blue states voted Democrat. Imagine that. Great point. That's why I've been saying from the beginning this coverage has been so overhyped. And finally, last comment for this section. Like you said, be careful what you wish for. Not much of a difference between socialism and communism. Socialism and communism both aim for shared ownership and wealth equality, but socialism allows for individual ownership of personal property and distributes resources based on contribution, while communism advocates for state control of all resources and aims for a classless society where property is collectively owned. Essentially, socialism can coexist with capitalism, whereas communism seeks to completely abolish it. Thank you very much. We got to take a break and wrap up hour number 1. Keep these great comments coming in. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. What exactly made Trump decide not to support Marjorie Taylor Greene? Well, that's what makes this more of a conspiracy theory. So if you missed it, AOC is suggesting, I never saw Trump say anything out there in public, but suggesting that Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate and Trump told her to stand down. And ever since then, that, again, in AOC's theory, that's what's caused Marjorie Taylor Greene to go on this revenge tour, as she calls it. So I haven't seen specifically Trump say one thing or another on it. I just thought it was kind of interesting because I think people are trying to ask the question, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene going on this quote-unquote revenge tour? Is it because she does want to be liked by those people so bad, like on The View? Or does she want to be a Liz Cheney? I don't know. I don't think any of us have the answer. Okay, we are out of time for hour number 1. We are going to read some of the local races from yesterday, but if you have any specific questions, please text me so I can read them in the next segment. We're just going to read some of the bigger ones, and then we are going to continue our amazing discussion. Thank you for all these great comments. I think we're really having a wonderful show this morning. So stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2. Mere moments away. Coming up in the next hour, we'll be hearing from the Corning Area Community Concert Band celebrating their 50th anniversary this Sunday at a show at the Corning Museum of Glass Auditorium at 3. It's absolutely free. You're going to hear all about it in the next hour. Keep your comments coming in if you have any questions about specific local races, or if you just want to congratulate or have a theory on the local races or the mayoral race, or what does, a big question of the day, I continue to ask it, what does this mean for Elise Stefanik's decision, not just Mamdani, but nationwide? What does this mean for Elise Stefanik's decision whether to run for governor or not? Your thoughts, stay with us. And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on the day after Election Day. We're going to go through some of your bigger local races, if you will. Of course, we all know Mamdani won. We've been talking about that all morning, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I would love to hear your opinion. And if you are just joining us in the 7 o'clock hour, our question has been, what do last night's New Jersey, Virginia, Mamdani, what do those results mean for Elise Stefanik's decision in regards to running for governor? Okay, Ken writes in, let's see, Virginia gets a governor that wants men in women's bathrooms and an attorney general that fantasizes about murdering men and children. New Jersey gets a governor that cheated in the academy and won't say that she wants lower taxes and will keep the sanctioned state status. New York City gets a mayor that was anti-Semitic, that hates Jews, has said some very bad things, wants to aggressively tax the rich, wants to defund the police. Have you seen what he said about the police back in the day, too? Wants to stay the path on closing Rikers Island, wants to allow everyone to ride mass transit for free as rolling homeless encampments, wants city-owned grocery stores with less choices, doesn't know a thing about managing 300,000 people, didn't say God bless America at the end of his victory over New York City, in his victory over New York City in his speech, and thinks it's a good idea to diss the president. The uniformed sheeple have no idea on who they have elected. There was so many scandals, and I'm not just one to watch one outlet or go to just conservative outlets. And I thought, like you said, the Academy, Ken, like you said, I mean, the anti-Semitism from Mamdani should have been an easy disqualification. Again, there's so many moving pieces in that race because of Cuomo, the baggage that comes with Cuomo. I just wonder how much of that victory was just people wanting Cuomo done, wanted the Cuomo era over. But you're right. And the sickening scandal of those text messages when it comes to wishing a Republican dead, and those things weren't disqualifying. Continuing, comment from a different viewer. That's the point. Corning is changing, and our charm will be fading, in my opinion. That's in reference to they had texted in that they were hoping there would have been a challenger in the mayoral race. There was not. That's as in Corning. There was not, but I appreciate your comment. Comment from a different viewer. In my opinion, I don't think the election results were a surprise to Elise. I think she'll run. At least I hope she will. Thank you for that. If you are just joining us, a couple of the bigger races last night locally that are worth mentioning. I'm only reading those that were contested, and there's not too many that we have to go through. The first one that came up that was contested for Steuben County Legislator in District 12, Debbie Shannon defeated James Cool 607 to 509 by nearly 100 votes there. Debbie Shannon, we had both candidates on twice before the election. Debbie Shannon, the Democrat, and I think it was called Neighbors First line, and James Cool, the Republican incumbent. That is a big one because he was an incumbent, and we know the power of the incumbency normally. So again, James Cool defeated by Debbie Shannon last night. Justin Eberlin in District 13, that's Caton, the town of Corning, and Hornby. Justin Eberlin defeated Timothy Tuttle 917 to 832. And when it came to, I'm trying to, again, just do the contested races for Corning City Council, Ward 7. Mark Razoo, the Republican, was defeated by Rhodey Rovner, 120 to 103, again, showing you how important your vote is always, but at the local level. So I know it's not all official yet, the numbers, but that's got to be heartbreaking. Losing by 17 votes. You think of the 17 doors, well, 18 if you didn't want to tie, 18 doors that you could have knocked on. Congratulations to John Buckley, who was running unopposed, but friend of Frankly Speaking, Hornell mayor. Congratulations on a new term as mayor, doing a wonderful job in Hornell. Again, if you have any questions specifically about any races, please text in. I'm not going to go through each one, but I'd be more than happy to read which one you would like me to read. Out of Chemung County, we had the prop that someone was asking about earlier, and that was the over $4 million to go to the Chemung County Library District. That did pass. 64.86% to 35.14%. So the vote on that was yes. An Elmira City Court judge, who we were happy to have all three of the candidates on the program, Daniel Kane from the Democrat and Working Families Party, won with 56.75% of the vote. Jordan York on the Republican and conservative lines receiving 38.77%, and Robert Singlin on Elmira First with the 4.48% of the vote. So Daniel Kane is the victor in the Elmira City Court judge race. If there's anybody else you are curious about that you don't already know about, please feel free to text in, and I'd be more than happy to read the results to you, because I know there was quite a few. I'm looking here, quite a few contested races. It's just very difficult to get through all of them. So please, I would love to help you out on that. We'd be honored. All right, Zohran Mamdani won and has no mandate. It's up to Kathy Hochul to save the city, according to the New York Post. Mamdani won a clear victory in the mayoral race Tuesday, but by far less than Democrats usually do. While the numbers aren't final, at the very least, nearly as many New Yorkers voted against him as for him. That's no sign of faith in the socialist fantasies he's selling. He certainly has no mandate to ram through a radical agenda. New Yorkers seem to know his extremist, socialist, pro-crime rhetoric and policies will devastate the city, setting off a historic race for the exits and a serious, irreversible decline for the city. More than a third, about 2.8 million residents, said they'd consider bolting if Mamdani won, including 765,000 who said they definitely would. Which is why Mamdani's fellow Democrat, above all Governor Kathy Hochul, has a duty to step up, rein him in, and head off this disaster. Do you think she'll do it? I think it's interesting. To me, it leads to, I would imagine, his victory leads to a far-left challenger for Governor Hochul, even after her endorsement. Remember, he never endorsed Hochul. Hochul said, don't read too much into it. They're waiting on my time frame. Well, we'll see when she calls in that favor, when she calls in that chip. We'll see if he endorses. Now, according to the Post, they said Election Day was a good one for less radical Democrats, or at least Democrats who play moderate, as Abby Spanberger and Mickey Sherrill triumphed in Virginia and New Jersey, emphasizing their pragmatism, not their progressivism. I don't completely agree with that, but let's continue. Yes, Mamdani won in New York, but the Democrat line is a near guarantee of victory in the city. That's also another good point from the Post. It is nearly guaranteed, so some of those votes were just the D next to the name, not even knowing the candidate. As it was, he was held to within a stone's throw of 50%, one way or another, of the vote by Curtis Sliwa and the so much baggage Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo's career is done, finished. Like also disgraced ex-governor Eliot Spitzer before him, he tried for redemption in a New York City run and failed decisively. Sliwa's electoral career is also over, but it never amounted to much. No skin off his nose, but the fact that he was a Republican nominee with not even a primary is testimony to the weakness of New York's GOP, state, and especially city. A topic we'll have much more to say about in the weeks to come. Good. Of course, we'll be all over Mamdani, assuming he sticks to his radical guns, etc., etc. Okay. Ben Domenech says that the voters spoke Tuesday night, and rather than reject Democrat extremism, they embraced it. In New Jersey and Virginia, two fake moderates, high-test resume female candidates, particularly built in a lab by the party establishment, who nonetheless hold to extreme leftist views on social policy, cruised to victory in line with polls and the expectations of the political elite. None of the outcomes were surprises, except perhaps one. The Virginia Attorney General race, where Jay Jones, the bloody-minded partisan who's exposed for openly fantasizing about murdering a Republican political opponent and hoping his children died in their mother's arms, won handily. Jones' victory is a vindication of the pro-assassination faction of the radical left. It turns out you can celebrate your opponent's death and muse about how great it would be if their children died too without any repercussions. This comes from Ben Domenech. It might even help you prove your bona fides. You're a true leftist now, Jay Jones. And then he goes through and talks more about each race. But while the pain is coming for New Jersey and for Virginia in the forms of higher taxes, lower crime penalties, and an aggressive culture war against everything that Donald Trump has done in his second term. Something citizens have to learn the hard way when the results of what they ask for are not are delivered in spades. As J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, it is the burned hand that teaches best. After that, advice about fire goes to the heart. We'll see soon enough how the voters feel about it, and if they will reward the Democrats for their extremism when it comes time for the midterms, or if they decide to vote with their feet in the meantime. Either way, the lesson begins now. Ben Dominici, an editor-in-large of The Spectator and a Fox News contributor. All right, your thoughts about yesterday's races. We've got a couple more comments from you, the viewer, but also from some other opinion pieces and some other things to dissect. Then, in right around 7:20, we're going to hear from the Corning Area Community Concert Band, which they're celebrating their 50th anniversary on Sunday. So we'll hear from them to get you a little information about their concerts, free. And that'll be coming up at 7:20. But I want to hear from you. What do you think this means for Stefanik? I also want to hear your thoughts. Is this the end of the Cuomo era forever? Also, if you have any local races that you've not heard the results of, please let me know, and I'd be happy to bring them to your attention. So stay with us. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security. Excuse me. In Horseheads, contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, trying to put together all of your amazing comments. So I do apologize if I missed a couple of them because we had such a large amount come in here. Okay, let's get to them. First comment up. Mark writes in, if the Dems bring in someone to run against Hochul in a primary, doesn't that help Elise Stefanik as it splits the vote up three ways? Well, no, it wouldn't split up three ways. Well, yeah, it would if they ended up running maybe at the Working Families Party or the Democrat Socialists. It would in the general. But what you look at in the primary is obviously that is going to cost Hochul money. It's going to cost her time. All the baggage comes out at that point, the smear campaigns in a primary. So the term is in politics, it bloodies her up before the general election. So that's, yes, either in the general or in the primary, it is a big benefit for Elise Stefanik. Okay, comment from a different viewer. Stefanik will definitely run for governor. Why else would Hochul send us money to send her? That's a good point. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning. I'm so totally disgusted with the larger election results. I'm also amazed how easily deceived people are by the left. The Trump derangement syndrome is so great in our country, it is physically apparent. I'm truly disappointed by these results. I truly hope that this rouses the conservative Republican electorate for the midterms next November. Sickened and saddened. I understand your mindset. There just seemed to be such a lack of interest in a way by Republicans. They didn't get out and play the game like they did last November. They didn't leave it all on the field, as the saying goes. So I agree. This viewer writes in, I could care less about New York City, but I am concerned that those who said that they will be leaving the city to move where? Hopefully these people will leave the state and not bring their city-bred ideologies to upstate New York. No, well, maybe not. I don't know. That's a good question. Okay. We have some other comments coming in. Sorry, that's as many as I can get to. Now, Mark Penn says the Democrats win the moment last night, but the left-wing tilt threatens their future. Democrats roared back in the 2025 off-year elections, and that's no surprise given widespread voter discontent with the economy and the political system in general. Democrat-leaning areas that flipped to Republicans in 2024 returned to their party this year. Part of the lesson is that moderate female candidates do well with swing voters. And Democrats certainly had two strong contenders in Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger and New Jersey Governor-elect Mickey Sherrill. Both have military experience, and neither is anywhere close to being a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. I don't know. But Trump was not on the ballot, but Republicans inherited a difficult situation from the Biden administration. Most voters believe the economy remains weakened and that they are stuck in inflation. one that may be lower than it was under Biden, but still remains their top concern. We don't have to go through all of this, but while none of the races called for Democrats on Tuesday night were a surprise, the predictability itself underscores that unless Trump and Republicans retool their strategy to win back swing voters, politics is returning to the norm of punishing the ins with the outs, and Democrats are determined to fight back with everything from government shutdowns to aggressive redistricting. They don't seem to be paying a price for these moves, even after years of decrying government shutdowns and gerrymandering. On Tuesday night, Democrats proved they still have plenty of fight left, and that without Trump on the ballot to energize Republicans, Democrat candidates, whether moderate or extreme, can bring their voters home. Fair enough point. Liz Peek believes that Democrats cheering Mamdani's win will be crying soon enough, that it will be very difficult in New York. But the New York race was mainly about local issues and affordability. The irony, of course, is that it has been under Democrat leadership and because of Democrat policies that the cost of living in New York has skyrocketed. Why would voters want more of the same? All right. We got to take another break because we've got our guest coming in from the Corning Area Community Concert Band, who they are celebrating their 50th anniversary on Sunday at CMOG. If you have any local races that you are curious about the results, we've tried to do a good job of reading some of the bigger ones, the contested ones. But if there's anything you missed on the coverage last night or on the coverage you're looking on the Board of Elections this morning, please let me know because I'd love to bring them to you. Definitely a big night for various candidates, so I don't want to leave you hanging and out of the loop. But now we take our break. One other thing. Hold on. I can't forget this. I even had a special note. I brought this up before, but I want you to remember that tonight is that town hall public information session for our friends in the town of Irwin. Full disclosure, I am on the Irwin Town Board. But for those of you curious about the discussions and the conversations regarding a new town hall, that meeting is tonight. It's a public information session starting at 5:30 at the Irwin Town Hall. So we hope that you can all make it out. Again, I just did not want to forget that. I know I brought it up quite a few times, but it's an important discussion, and we want you all to be a part of it. All right, so that is tonight, 5:30. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio this morning, Tina, thanks so much for being on the program.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I don't know a lot about the Corning Area Community Concert Band, which is a shame because they're celebrating 50 years, but tell us, for those that aren't aware, tell us a little bit about the community band.
The Corning Area Community Concert Band was created in 1975, as were actually a lot of community bands in the United States in the area, in anticipation of celebrating the bicentennial in 1976.
Oh, that makes sense.
We play about 14 concerts a year.
Wow.
The November concert, which usually occurs near or on Veterans Day weekend, is our biggest concert. We bring in usually a guest conductor or a composer, a conductor many times from one of the military bands. We pair up with one of the area choruses or orchestras to perform.
Okay.
We also do about 3 or 4 winter holiday concerts in churches and assisted living facilities. We do a lot of summer concerts in parks. We've performed at the Bath VA Auditorium, and we usually also do a combined concert with an area high school. Next year it's going to be Elmira High School.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of performances. How many people are in the band?
It varies sometimes because
Yeah.
there are snowbirds,
Sure.
and there sometimes during the year we have students and then they go off to college. So usually I would say we're about 50 for this concert that's coming up. This Sunday, we're a little bit over 80 because everyone's coming back to celebrate our 50th anniversary.
Of course. But what's it like trying to get 50-some people together on the same schedule?
There's a lot of comings and goings.
Yeah, I would think so.
But for the most part, and a lot of the musicians play in other bands in the area, orchestras, jazz bands. They sing in choirs. They they teach, they're retired. We have a lot of veterans in the band.
Sure.
So-
And the performance is this Sunday at 3 at the Corning Museum of Glass Auditorium. So something very special about this celebration, if you will. You got a piece commissioned. Could you tell us what that means for the layperson?
We reached out to a composer, Rossano Galante, who is actually a native New Yorker from the Buffalo area.
Oh, okay.
And he is presently someone who composes and scores for films in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And he writes a lot for bands. And we've had him here before. And we knew he knew the band, he knew how we played, he knew our size, and it just seemed like a good fit. So we reached out to him and we pay him to compose a piece, and it will be published by a music publishing house in January, actually.
wow.
So it'll be for sale all over the world to all community bands and high school bands and things like that, too.
And I love the name, the Glass Wilderness.
Yeah, so
How
we
appropriate.
we asked our membership for ideas about what they wanted to have for a theme of for our 50th anniversary, and we got the area and the beauty and the river and the hills and the mountains and the trees. We also got soaring, and of course we got a dedication somehow to glass. So he entitled the piece "The Glass Wilderness" and used all of those, and it's just a really beautiful piece. It uses a lot of like there's bells and chimes and flute solos to get that kind of glistening feel of glass. So it's very special.
How do you, not just you, but the whole band prepare, especially in something like that, which is essentially a brand new song just for you? How do you prepare to perform that?
Well, we in addition to that piece, we're doing 3 other pieces by Rossano that we've never played before.
Okay.
So many times the November concert is full of pieces the band hasn't played. We start rehearsing. We rehearse on Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Every Thursday, almost all year. We take January off and we take August and half of July off. But yeah, we practiced. The people asked if they could have the music ahead of time, so we were able to get them their parts and their folders ahead of time to practice.
Now, will the person who the commissioned artist, are they going to be in attendance?
Yes, we are flying Rossano in.
Oh,
He'll be
wonderful.
here for a extended rehearsal on Saturday, and there's a reception afterwards for all of the band members to meet and greet with him and the other guest conductors. And yeah, it should be. It's a great time. We're really looking forward to it.
Well, and you mentioned other guest conductors, so there's a total of 4. Is that right?
Yes, I'll be conducting some pieces. Rossano is conducting most of the pieces, and we've invited back 2 previous conductors of the community band for our 50th. John Stranges, who taught in the Corning School District for years, and Scott Kelly, who was a teacher in the Elmira District as well as ASMS here in Corning.
Oh, wow. And I do want to stress that admission is free. How nice is that? Now, donations are accepted.
Yeah.
But admission is free. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been a conductor?
I've been a member of the band for 10 years, and I've been conducting for 9.
What's the job of a conductor like?
I try to dedicate my Thursdays as soon as I wake up to score preparation
Yeah.
and a lot of listening and a lot of highlighters and writing in parts and knowing who's got solos and making sure that the percussion know what their needs are with instruments and assignments and things like that.
How long have you been in your life been performing music like this?
Since I guess I started playing oboe in 5th grade.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's really nice. What's a performance like if no one's been to one of these very special guests, if someone hasn't been to one of these very special events, the Corning Area Community Concert, what does that look like?
Our November concert has several patriotic pieces because it is Veterans Day weekend,
Right.
and the following Monday is the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps. So there's a little bit of a honor to that,
That's great.
and all of our veterans. And we have 4 pieces by Rossano. We also have a clarinet duet featured with the band accompanying them, which is also a highlight. And then John will be conducting a piece, and Scott will be conducting a piece. I'm doing the marches, and I have a piece. I have a piece too, and they're almost all American composers.
Oh, okay. Now, what goes into picking the music? Do you get to do it as conductor, or is it just a community effort?
Well, for most of the concerts, I select the pieces.
Okay.
For this November concert, because it was the 50th, we actually put out a questionnaire to the musicians asking them which pieces that we've played before do they want to hear again. And the one that I'm conducting, John's conducting, and Scott conducting got the most votes from the band.
What a great way of doing it.
And then Rossano picked his own 3 pieces in addition to the one we commissioned, and they're an excellent fit. They're amazing pieces.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, if someone is just learning about this, how can they find out more about the Corning Area Community Concert Band, about the concert this Sunday at 3, the Corning Museum of Glass Auditorium, or just maybe if they want to join?
Well, they can do a search online, and we have a webpage, Corning Area Community Concert Band, and they can also search Corning Community Area Concert Band, and we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And yes, we're always looking for more musicians from all walks of life and ages. We have from high school students, college students, all the way up to retired, and we have 3 people in our band who've played with us every year of the 50 years that we'll also be honoring.
That's very special.
It is.
Do you find that after a concert like this, especially the bigger ones that you put on each year, that there's an uptick in people wanting to join?
Sometimes, but we actually got a huge uptick just because we were putting out, hey, we've got this concert and it's our 50th anniversary. People are coming back, not who have played with us before, but they just like, oh, there's a band in the area.
Yeah.
Who, have jobs in Corning and Elmira. We have musicians all the way from Ithaca to Hornell who play with us every week. They drive and come with us.
Oh, wow. From 7 to 9 every Thursday all the way from Hornell. My goodness, that's dedication. You find everybody, I'm sure, that wants to participate in this is dedicated.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be wonderful. It's this Sunday at 3 o'clock at the Corning Museum of Glass Auditorium. Anything that people should know before they head to the museum on Sunday?
Dress casual.
Okay.
It's Veterans Day weekend. I believe veterans get access to the museum free. So if people want to come early, there's a gift shop, and they can see all the beautiful artwork at the museum and the new wing. So yeah, we would love to see everyone.
Well, great, Tina. Best of luck this Sunday, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back. But Frankly Speaking, stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Thank you to Tina Social for being on the program this morning. I hope everybody can make it out to that performance. Let's go to viewer comments. And again, reach out if there's anybody you want to know about in yesterday's election results. Okay, I certainly hope it's the end of the Cuomo show. After all, another attempt should be embarrassing to him. But when you have an ego like that, I guess not. Yeah, I mean, I want to say, like most, I want to say, sorry about that. Someone I think accidentally dialed in. I want to say that I lost my train of thought. With Cuomo, that you've got to assume, I mean, the fact that he ran again, you want to assume it's over, but think of the ego on them in the past. I just don't know. I don't know if it is the end. I can't say with pure confidence. Okay. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Love the Sioux. When can we expect the tuxedo? Keep up the good work. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure out a day to wear a tuxedo. That sounds like a good idea. Comment from a different viewer. People talk about how the parties have flipped. It's just where they live. Republicans are moving south to free states. The Democrats are taking over the North and freedom. To save New York, we need to separate the city from the state because like gangrene, the sickness will move up the Interstate 90, infecting the whole state. Stefanik can't win in New York because of the state's hatred of Trump. Hopefully she will get a job in his administration. If she runs, they better get a good candidate for the 21st or risk losing more of New York. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, completely off topic, but an observation that has frustrated me for a long time. On my iPhone, when I text something repeatedly, it guesses what I want to say and suggests from my past texts what word I want to use next. One of the 3 choices is usually correct and helps speed up texting. But when I write Trump a lot, especially when texting the most powerful political commentary show on the planet, frankly speaking, thank you, okay. How often does hyperbole come up on your autocorrect? It never suggests Trump as one of the choices. And when I type in president, it never suggests Trump. It usually suggests Obama, Clinton, and Biden. Sometimes it suggests George. Not sure why a first name, possibly for George Washington or George W. Bush, maybe. Maybe they're going not in order, but just thought it was interesting that the algorithm for the iPhone text AI has TDS. It does seem it. Doesn't surprise me that you sometimes think, oh, it's just got to be a coincidence, and 100% it's not a coincidence. Okay. Let's see where. Okay, so Defiant Andrew Cuomo, back to the point that I've been trying to make, says New York City mayoral bid was the right fight, and then warned against Zohran Mamdani's divisiveness. We heard, or divisiveness, however you want to say it. Some viewers have said it was a good speech. We've heard from numerous people saying that he did give a good speech. But was this a Cuomo? Well, how do I want to word this? How much of this was Mamdani's win was anti-Cuomo? I think there's some of that. I think there were people that maybe didn't even support the socialist aspect of Mamdani, but said they couldn't support Cuomo. I mean, so much baggage. Matthew Fischetti and Matt Troutman said, like father, like son. One of New York's most famous political dynasties bit the dust Tuesday as Andrew Cuomo's power grab came to a humiliating end in a gilded Midtown ballroom. New York City voters firmly rejected Cuomo's unwanted electoral advantage, just like they rebuffed his dad, Mario Cuomo, 48 years ago, as the patriarch suffered a stinging defeat to Ed Koch. The never take no for an answer Cuomo has said he wouldn't rule out another political run if his mayoral bid faltered. But his second defeat against socialist Zohran Mamdani left the once formidable former governor weakened to the point of, and here's a big word, irrelevance. His concession speech, perhaps his last major political address, was a warning about Mamdani's policies and more broadly an appeal for the soul of the party. This campaign was to contest the philosophies that are shaping the Democrat Party, the future of this city and the future of this country, Cuomo said. He added specifically, that meant backing law and order. We will not make the NYPD the enemy. Without naming Mamdani specifically, Cuomo took aim at anti-Semitism, adding, we cherish our diversity and we have no tolerance for discrimination of any kind of race, religion, sexual orientation, or creed. And we will not tolerate any behavior that fans the flames of anti-Semitism. He added, it's important to note that almost half of New Yorkers did not vote to support a government agenda that makes promises that we know cannot be met. The glowering Andrew rose up the ranks of New York and Democrat politics until he was elected into the executive mansion in 2010. He ruled Albany with an iron fist until 2021, when he resigned in disgrace amid impeachment threats after a sordid sexual harassment scandal, though he has continued to maintain he did nothing wrong. And I would add, I know it's not a reason why he stepped down, but the decision during COVID to put COVID-positive patients in nursing homes is one of the worst decisions historically made by a governor, and during the whole pandemic. But 4 years later, Cuomo smelled blood in the political waters as he watched Mayor Adams' re-election implode. He inserted himself into the Democrat mayoral primary, but watched as his presumptive victory was snatched away by the upstart Mamdani in June because he didn't work for it. He was happy keeping to himself, essentially. Cuomo, not taking a hint, mounted an independent run that drew more cringe than actual enthusiasm. He stilted COVID-era PowerPoint presentations at the Sheraton. His awkward AI videos and social media videos trying to depict him as acting like an actual human ended up inspiring laughs and derision from across the political spectrum. Shockingly, not even Cuomo's weekend escapades to the Hamptons could help Big Apple voters feel that he wasn't the same man who cost taxpayers upwards of $60 million to pick up the tab for his sexual harassment suits, sent the elderly to their death with the COVID nursing home order, or closed a corruption probe that he launched after it got too close to his own office. Only a uniquely hated politician with his connections and campaign coffers could bungle an election versus a political unknown this badly. Whether it was his bare bones daily schedules that spent more time with donors than voters, or his desperate flip-flopping on issues like closing Rikers Island during the campaign, Cuomo proved one thing to be true. The only thing he has ever believed in is his own ambition. He spent the last hours of his political life in Manhattan's Ziegfeld Ballroom, where his campaign made a very poor decision of emblazing the tarnished Cuomo name. Well, I don't want to keep reading that. I don't know why they go that way. Despite his political career being 6 feet underground, Cuomo will more than likely bother New York City voters with some vanity run for office in the future. Because as everyone knows, Cuomo has trouble taking no for an answer. His career survived by other questionable politicians whose deal in back rooms at the expense of $8 million. New Yorkers, Kevin Dugan at the Wall Street Journal. What is this, New York Times? Anyway, saying half a century of Andrew Cuomo's New York comes to an end. So in any other scenario, if we would have said, not knowing anything about Mamdani, which we still don't know a lot, but not knowing anything at the beginning of the shaping of the mayoral race, if we said this is going to be the end of Cuomo, we'd all be celebrating. Little did we know what New York City decided to do with picking Zohran Mamdani, the Democrat socialist. There's also the point being made, and I think it's a fair point, from William F.B. O'Reilly, that the GOP must get real in New York City with a winnable 5-borough strategy. Curtis Sliwa ran a heck of a mayoral race, but face it, he was never going to win. Everyone knew that, even Sliwa. The Guardian Angels founder was on the Republican ballot because no one else wanted to run. No one serious anyway. Failing to find another candidate turned out to be a mistake for the GOP, and a big one. In a three-way race no one could have expected, Republicans had a crack at recapturing the City Hall, and it didn't happen. The party was caught off guard. Republicans blew an opportunity that historically arises only about once every quarter century. 4 years ago, to some fanfare, Republicans vowed to find a top-tier nominee for mayor in 2025 after getting blown out by a weak Eric Adams. Everyone had an idea, but nobody had a candidate, even with the free millions coming from New York City's candidate matching funds program. It's a crying shame because the 5 boroughs are winnable for the GOP, even more so today, theoretically, than when Giuliani and Bloomberg captured 4 of the 5 in the respective 97 and 05 re-election race. So again, this is just, and I don't want to go through all of this, but the idea is we have to take these things seriously as a GOP as we see Democrats making headway, even in local areas like ours, and it's something that Elise Stefanik clearly has to consider. That's why I've been asking you all morning long what your thoughts are on a Stefanik run. Does this change her opinion? Not because of Mamdani. Mamdani is going to be good for her in the sense she can use it against Hochul, and Hochul could very well have a far left primary challenge after, and I think will after the success of Mamdani. So that helps Stefanik. But at the Jersey, Virginia level, what does that play? How does that play in her head? We have a couple of other things that we've got to get to. If you have any questions about the local races, I would love to hear from you. But right now we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from some viewers. History has been made. A socialist elected. His next step, governor. Wake up, New Yorkers. Now, I do think there is going to be a far left challenger to Hochul after this win. I don't think it'll be Mamdani, only because he just won. I think that would make people realize, even in his own party, say that's a little bit too quick of a turnaround. But I do think it'll be somebody handpicked by him with the same DSA beliefs. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. What a great night last night. We had a harvest supermoon capped off by a blue tidal wave. Keep up the great work, Donald. I think voters sent you a message last night. Maybe it was a hoax. Maybe it was rigged. Donald's approval ratings are tanking. That's a shame. Carolyn Levitt stepped all over her feet at the White House press conference today, meaning yesterday. They were talking about Trump only giving up 50% of the SNAP benefits for November. She said that people need to remember they are pulling the money from SNAP from funds set aside for emergencies. I say, when did people not having food to put on the table not become an emergency because of Democrat and Republican lawmakers and Trump acting like idiots? Wow. Let me ask one question, though. God forbid there is some type of natural disaster and that food, that money's not there for food and for help. Would there be criticism of the handling of the money by the Trump administration in this scenario? Again, we don't want anything like that to happen, but I think that's one of those topics that you can try to win on either position that you take. I'm not saying that people with the snack, because even with all the money, it's not enough to pay for the whole month of November. So I'm not really sure. I think the point was missed by what Carolyn Levitt was saying, because I do think it's scary when you don't have emergency funding in there. Okay, continue with what Rick said. Way to go, Trump. Can't even bring yourself to say a few words about a really great vice president. How long can you go? Got a little spring in my step today, boys. Thank you, Rick. Rick, let me ask, be fair. And I think you're fair to me. I'm not saying that. Do you think he was a pretty great vice president when he was vice president? Because I see a lot of rewriting of history from people in the media today. But just curious. Okay. Comment from a different viewer. Republicans need to get rid of the filibuster and implement the president's agenda to worry about the future, because we won't have one unless we do. Okay. So kind of stop worrying about the future of others using the filibuster, because we won't have a future if we don't. Kind of idea. Got it. Can't wait till they change the name of Mario Cuomo Bridge to the Mamdani Crossing. Thank you very much. Now, a couple of, and if you are just joining us, I know we got to wrap up here. So please, if there's anybody you are curious about when it comes to the local races, we've read, I think we've done a great job of your election results, some that came in late last night, some major upsets. But I know there are also so many various towns and municipalities that had races yesterday. So if you have any questions about your specific area, please, we've got all the information right here, ready to go, because that's what this is all about. And as I said, there were some upsets, some very interesting races, not just at the mayoral race in New York City, Virginia, New Jersey, but here locally. It was a very big local election year. So stay with us. Getting ready to wrap up hour number one here on Frankly Speaking. Oh, hour number one. What am I thinking? That's how excited I am today. It's going so fast. Hour number two, getting ready to wrap up after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We got a couple viewer comments here before we wrap up. And again, get your last minute questions in about the local races. Ken writes in, my wife is seeing on social media that many are blaming Sliwa for not getting out so Cuomo could be elected. Unfortunately, they don't know much about math, with Mamdani getting 50.4% of the vote. If anyone else voted for Cuomo, that would only be 49.6% of the vote. So he still would have lost. I think there's been a want by certain people to blame Sliwa from the beginning. And I understand there's some people that wanted him out. I understand that. But having said that, it wasn't the decision maker. Sliwa gave his concession speech at 9:20. Keep in mind, the polls close at 9. So, yes, you'll see people try to blame, but at the end of the day, mathematically, it does not work out. Thank you for that, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. The Democrat Party is more like a casino slot machine. Pull the lever and you get AOC or a Mamdani. They elbow each other to get on the ballots. Many of them don't even support each other. They lack leadership, and I believe that they will look very different in the future. Thank you very much. And finally, this viewer writes in, opinions on Tim Tuttle for Corning. I like his platform on workers' rights. Well, no opinion, but I know that he was defeated yesterday by Justin Eberlin, 917 to 832. I did not hear from Mr. Tuttle to have him on the program. Would have been more than happy to interview him. But he was defeated last night in the other contested race for Steuben County Legislature in District 12. That's Irwin. James Cool, the incumbent, was defeated by Debbie Shannon. We had both candidates on this program. James Cool, 509 votes to Debbie Shannon's 607. All right, let's see if I can read some of these before we head out the door. Rick says, as far as the food money, we need to make sure our citizens have food before we supply billions of dollars in weaponry to other countries. Well, that's a little different than what I asked, but okay. Artillery sandwiches don't taste very good. Nice sport jacket, thank you. It's more of a suit. I don't know the difference between a sport jacket and a suit, but I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. I understand why people in urban areas embrace socialism because most don't own their homes and rely on public transportation. They don't know the pride of ownership or building wealth. Thank you for that comment on the way out the door. Man, where did the time go? Oh, I see that John Fetterman blasted at Nancy Pelosi because Pelosi the other day called Trump the worst thing on earth, and she went on this kind of called him a vile creature. So John Fetterman was on Fox News' The Story with Martha McCullum. The senator said the worst creatures on the face of the earth are Hamas, or like the leadership of Iran. There's a lot of people on that. I would never use that kind of term, and I would describe our president. You can really disagree with him, and I do disagree, but I don't think that's really entirely appropriate. But that's her words for that. So for me, that's just a different kind of a Democrat for me. Good for him. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Last thing here, I look at things differently regarding the New York City race. Cuomo should have dropped out, and maybe Sliwa would have won. Interesting point. I don't think that's a bad point. You can blame Cuomo for Mamdani's run anyway. I mean, if he would have had a last minute wave to 21, thank you for your wife's wave. I appreciate that. Got it to 21. Yes, I think Cuomo, right from the jump, thought he was just too good. He was going to win and didn't have to run in the primary. He should just be handed the nomination, and that's why we are now with Mamdani in New York City. Well, thank you everybody who joined us this morning. I hope you enjoyed the day after Election Day coverage. I want to congratulate everybody that ran. Win, lose, or draw. It does take a lot of work and a lot of effort, so congratulations to you, no matter how it shaped up. I know there's a lot of people feeling good this morning. There's a lot of people feeling bad. That's the fun of the day after elections, isn't it? But we will be back. Oh, also, we got to thank our friends at the Corning Area Community Band as they are celebrating their 50th anniversary this Sunday. Absolutely free to attend, 3 o'clock at the Corning Museum of Glass CMOG Auditorium. So thank you for being our guest this morning. Please join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow. I look forward to it already.